Ladies and gentlemen, students and staff of South Middle School, please stand and give a warm welcome to our American heroes, the veterans of the United States military.
We will start by student Bryce Tapp, 8th grade student, saying the pledge. Then we'll go national anthem, and then we will sing the My Old Kentucky Home.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, and the birds make music all the day. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of the staff and students of South Middle School, we would like to welcome you to our program. Veterans, this is your day. One of my favorite parts of the program is the very beginning. It's the parade of heroes, men and women who proudly served our country, going through the Saber Guard with all of us standing and clapping. It doesn't get any better than that. Thank you, veterans, and thank you, first responders, for your service to our country. You know, this is our 38th annual Veterans Day program, and we hope you enjoy it. Every year we seem to add to the program veterans who are faithful to our program. You'll notice this year our fire department put the fire truck out front with the flag hanging and the Humvee. So we continue to add things to our program. Also, you know, this is not just a one-day event for us. The Wall of Hero banners and many other decorations in our lobby are on display 365 days per year. We consider ourselves a veteran school, and we are very proud of that. I would like to highlight a distinguished guest with us today. Mr. David Jordan and his wife Nancy. Would you please stand and be recognized? They're with us today. Mr. Jordan and Miss Jordan, they came all the way from Utah today to join us. And so Mr. Jordan was a principal here, and like me, he was very proud of this program. He and his wife were educators here in Henderson for 30 years. One of his teachers, who is still with us, Miss Claire Griffin, was quoted in saying, "His ability to coach, his big welcoming smile, and his positive attitude made a great impact on our community." Thank you, sir. Here's the cool thing. Mr. Jordan gets to see this thing come full circle today as he gets to watch his son present to you. His son, Justin Jordan, is our guest speaker today. Speaking of our distinguished guest, I would like to introduce them to you on our stage at this time. Going from left to right, we have Colonel Jim Smith. If you stand, if has been recognized. Colonel is our Master of Ceremonies, and he's been with us every year. Mayor Steve Austin. Judge Executive Brad Snyder. One of our program directors, Mr. Charlie Crabtree. Henderson County High School JROTC Battalion Commander Corey Benson. Our guest speaker today, Mr. Justin Jordan. And our Henderson County Superintendent, Ms. Morgana Stanley. At this time, Mayor Steve Austin and Judge Brad Snyder would like to say a few words to our veterans.
Good morning. What a great day in Henderson, Kentucky, and welcome. I know there's some folks here from out of town, and we welcome them especially for this great program. I don't know if you folks noticed it or not. I sure noticed it. That Pledge of Allegiance today actually vibrated the structure of the building. It was absolutely beautiful. Great job on that. Those sitting on the gym floor today, of course, thank you for your military service. Thank you for all you've done to keep our nation free. But I also want to thank you for your service to our community. I say frequently, you folks are the backbone of our community, and you're very much appreciated. And you know, as a contrast, those sitting around us in the bleachers, they'll be stepping up and taking our place in the future. And I am very proud of those folks and very anxious for them to continue on their service to our community. It is great. Would you veterans, would you give a hand to our to our students, please. You know, they sit there quietly, they pay attention, they participate. Very impressive, so thank you all. I want to make just another contrasting thank you, and that is to the American Legion Honor Guard. I see them every place. I see them at the funerals, I see them at events. They are important to our community, and thank you so much. But then on the contrast, the Junior ROTC group, are they not impressive? They are something else. So thank you. We appreciate that. All those groups are important to our community, and they support our community, and it's very much appreciated. And I want to turn it over now to Judge Executive Brad Snyder.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. Many thanks to the folks who helped organize this. It is a special day. I've never seen anything like this in another community at a middle school. I'm really thankful for our host at South. Very thankful for all the veterans sitting in front of me. Very much appreciate your service, and you have a sincere thank you from our entire team at Henderson County Government. And in addition to welcoming you and saying thank you, I'd also like to address the students here today, the younger people. All of you, some of you a little older than others, but any of you who are still thinking about what your future holds, who might be wondering what you will do when you become adults, I'd like to offer a bit of advice, maybe an idea. I'd like you to consider replacing the people in front of us by strongly thinking about a career in the military. Now, I know there are some parents who may not be really enthusiastic about that idea, because there's no doubt about it, there's some danger inherent in military service. But there are also great rewards. I think many of the people sitting in front of me would tell you that it was the greatest moments of their life, wearing the uniform of the United States. And they learned things such as leadership, confidence, team building, discipline. And there are also other tangible rewards, like a skill that you can use to further your career after you leave the military. Help pay for school. Things that can really help you in life. Another thing you can do when you get to high school is consider joining the JROTC. It's kind of a taste of the military style of management, how you could fit in. I encourage you to try that. My son did. It changed his life just being in JROTC in high school. As we honor these veterans today, I want you to think about the fact that one day you might be able to have the honor and the privilege of wearing the uniform of the United States of America, and one day you'll sit in front of us down here on the floor, and we'll be able to give you the sincere thank you of the entire nation, and especially Henderson County, Kentucky. Thank you very much.
Good morning. In preparation of today, our students at South Middle School and our teachers and staff at South Middle School have spent many hours teaching and learning and understanding what Veterans Day is, the importance of Veterans Day, and the purpose. And the teachers then asked the students, through their learning, to write about the things that they have learned. Their writing is in poetry, narrative, and informative writing pieces. And so I have the pleasure this morning of sharing and announcing who the winners are at each grade level in those writing categories. Students, if I call your name, would you please come down and see Mr. Rush over here? He has a trophy to give to you. So let's start with the 6th grade poetry. 3rd place winner, J.C. Hargis. 2nd place winner, 6th grade poetry, Darby Salisbury. 1st place winner for poetry, 6th grade, Catherine Cartwright. Seventh grade poetry, third place, Addison Orr. Second place, Jalen Shelton. First place, Chloe Woodard. Seventh grade also submitted informative writings. Third place, Tessalyn Yates. Second place, Mason Caton. First place, Anna Robards. And in the eighth grade, they submitted narrative pieces. Third place, Dylan LaRue. Second place, Mackenzie Baker. And first place for eighth grade narrative, Delaney Plummer. Congratulations, students, as winners. And I would like to also thank all of the staff of South Middle School in working with our students, in understanding and knowing the purpose of Veterans Day and how that is important to us and to our country. Thank you.
Before I introduce our guest speaker, I want to give a few thank yous. Every one of our students participated in some way to this program. All of our students wrote letters to our veterans inviting them to our program, and we thank you because many of you veterans write them back. You're so appreciative of that. You saw the essays, our contest. Also, I would like to recognize JROTC, the commander, Vic Rosentretter, and the students. They do such a great job. I really appreciate them. Our band is under the direction of Mr. Ben Carroll, and our choir under the direction of Mr. Randy Wilkerson. So thank you for our students who add to this program. I would now like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Justin Jordan. It is always great to welcome back a former student to South Middle School, formerly South Junior High, when Justin was here. Like I said earlier, his father was a principal here, and Justin Jordan was sitting right up there in the late 1980s. Justin Jordan enlisted in the United States Air Force when he was 19 years old. During his 20 years of service, he held many different jobs, everything from cook to combat readiness instructor. His most taxing job, however, would be when he was assigned as non-commissioned officer in charge of mortuary affairs. For nearly 6 years, he spent his time performing human remains inspections, uniforming the deceased, organizing military escorts, arranging for burial with honors, and consoling grieving families. Justin also managed mortuary operations at 2 separate deployment locations. In 2012, Justin decided to share his story in his book, And Then I Cried, Stories of a Mortuary NCO. I was really happy. Many folks came up to say, I read your book, and it was awesome this morning during breakfast. I loved hearing that. His hope was this story could help others struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder. He is also an accomplished artist, and his works can be seen hanging on the walls of the Pentagon in the Healing Arts display. After retiring from the Air Force, Justin continued his advocacy and worked with the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program, where he trained wounded and ill airmen to share their stories as to inspire others. He trained 55 warriors and briefed 30,000 airmen, ranging from airmen to 4-star generals. Justin now works at Warrior's Heart, the country's only dual diagnosis drug and alcohol treatment center that works exclusively with military and first responders suffering from chemical dependency, PTSD, and traumatic brain injury. Justin has been featured on CMT's I Love Kelly Pickler and has been a guest on over 200 radio shows nationwide. In 2015, he was awarded the American Soldier Network's Hero Service Award for his work helping veterans in need. We are honored to have him as our guest speaker. Please give it up for Mr. Justin Jordan.
Wow, thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here today. You know, as a little boy, I sat in those same bleachers that you guys are sitting in. I move around a lot. Hope you guys don't mind. But, you know, I sat up there in those bleachers, and I thought, you know, I kind of daydreamed, man, wouldn't it be nice someday to come back here and speak at the Veterans Day program? And, you know, I'd always had, or just speak about anything to you guys. So I treasure this moment. More so than that, like your principal said, my father was the principal when I went here. And that was back in the day of paddling, so I was not the best student in the world. And my dad would give it to me here and he'd give it to me at home. So there was a lot of great memories in this gym right here. You know, we're here today they asked me to come speak and tell my story. I really don't feel my story is any special than any other veteran sitting in this crowd. But I would like to share that with you today. But first, I would be remiss if I didn't honor my brothers and sisters sitting here. So if you're a veteran and you're able to stand, please do so. Thank you. Brothers and sisters, I want somebody that I'm particularly need to say thank you to. These men and women, the particular group of veterans, are near and dear to my heart. You know, they went off to war. Some of them were drafted. They went and served their country. And when they came home, they met a country that didn't love them. Some of them were spit on at the airports. They were asked to take their uniform off in shame of their service. But that didn't stop them. They continued to fight when they got home in the war here. Some of them suffered from PTSD, but it didn't matter. They lobbied Congress, and they got things changed. And they did all this so my generation of warrior could get thank you for your service. So Vietnam veterans, I want to say one thing to you. Thank you and welcome home. So I was asked to come here today and share my story, what I did when I was in the military. And like your principal said, and he read my bio, I started off as a cook when I left the Henderson. And first thing I knew is I wasn't anybody's cook. I didn't go in the military to flip burgers. Come on. I'm a hard charger from Henderson, Kentucky. No way. But, you know, I leaned into it. I did that job. Eventually, I became a combat readiness instructor, and I trained America's warfighters on how to deploy. And then for about 6 years of my career, I was asked to be the mortuary non-commissioned officer in charge at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in 2 separate deployed locations. So what is that? If someone would die on base, no matter for whatever reason, I would take charge of the remains from point of death all the way until they were buried. That means sometimes I had to bathe the dead, sometimes I had to watch the autopsies, sometimes I had to sit with the families. There were many times that I had to sit and listen to families grieve for hours. And I carried that pain. But I had to stand there and be stoic and had to be the one that was, professional at all times. And after a couple of years of doing this, I won't get into the gory details of each service, but after a couple of years of doing this service, it broke me. It shattered everything I knew. I became scared of everything. I didn't know what was going on. In this very basketball court and the soccer fields and the baseball diamonds in Henderson, Kentucky, we're all taught, suck it up, don't be a baby. But here I am, a grown man in the United States Air Force, and I was afraid to live for fear of dying. You see, I'd seen every kind of way to die: murders, suicides. I'd seen drownings. I'd seen people burned alive. So everything represented a way to die for me. And it scared me to death. I started having episodes where I would drink too much. I was trying to numb the pain. I would end up passed out on my neighbor's yard in my dress blues, something I'm not proud of. I would scream in my sleep from the nightmares to the point where the next day I would lose my voice. I would dissociate so bad that I would end up in different cities and not know how I got there. You might wonder what a dissociation is. If you've ever had a recollection of driving home or going home on the bus or whatever, and then pulling into the driveway and not remembering your trip, you're kind of on autopilot, that's a dissociation. I would do that so long and so often from the stacked memories that I would end up hundreds of miles from my home and not have a clue where I was, scared to death. I tried to suppress this. I didn't know what was going on, so I just tried to push it down. I told myself, suck it up. You're an airman. But I couldn't. I started developing olfactory hallucinations where I would smell bodies every time I put my uniform on. And at the urging of my family, I went and got help. I remember it like it was 5 minutes ago. I would sit in the parking lot at the mental health clinic on Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, and I would try to get the courage to get out of the truck and go in and ask for help. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I would sit there for about a month straight at my lunch break and try to muster up the courage to go in. One day I did. I got out of the truck and I walked in, and there was a young airman sitting behind the counter. And I said, "Airman, I need some help." And I'd been a pretty senior non-commissioned officer at the time. I'd been in quite a while. And he looked in his appointment book, and he looked over and he goes, "Sir, we have an appointment available in 2 weeks." Well, I must have done something really crazy with my face because he got immediately white. And I said, "Airman, if you don't see me today, you'll never see me again." He looked in his book again, and he goes, "Right this way, sir." And that was the first time that I sat with a doctor and explained to him what was going on. That day I was diagnosed with a pretty severe case of post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, I immediately knew that my career was over. That's what I assumed, that I was no longer to be allowed to be in the Air Force because I had a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. But more so than that, the one thing that really bothered me the most was that I would have to come back home here and all of you would be disappointed in me. Because I would hang my head in shame for having PTSD. I didn't understand it. So he encouraged me to sit through different treatments. He helped me with cognitive behavioral therapy. He helped me with cognitive processing therapy. I've done every kind of therapy you can imagine, group therapy. And then he tried to ask me to go into some medications for PTSD, and I just wouldn't do it. I had seen so many people overdose on pills that I did not want anything to do with that. So we started looking at alternative therapies for me. And in early 2009, there was some work being done with veterans and post-traumatic stress service dogs. And he mentioned that, there's some work in that area and that I should consider it. And I said, well, there's no way they're going to let me be on active duty and bring a dog to work. It's just not going to happen. So we asked my commander, and we asked his commander and his commander, and we got it to the highest levels of the Air Force. And in 2010, I was allowed to be the first active duty member to serve with the aid of a PTSD service dog. Her name is Dallas. I still have her. She's at home. I no longer need her. But she is a bulldog, like much of you. So she helped me out tremendously. What she was trained to do was when I would be in my car and I would dissociate, she would lick my neck at my exit so I could get home. And I wouldn't dissociate. When I would have my olfactory hallucinations, I could put my hands on her and they would dissolve, they'd go away. So she really saved my life. I worked with her for about a year. She went everywhere. The Air Force really rallied behind me on this journey. And they actually made her a staff sergeant and gave her her own uniform, and she traveled everywhere I went with me. It was pretty amazing. She had her own boarding pass when I would go temporary duty. She was Dallas, the service dog, Staff Sergeant Dallas, the service dog. About a year after getting her, I went into a restaurant with her, and the manager asked me to leave. You can't have your dog in here because you look at me and I don't look disabled. I walk and talk, and those of us, and I think my brothers and sisters that suffer from this in the audience know, we get really good at hiding it. You won't know we have PTSD unless we let you know we have PTSD. So I decided, no, I'm not leaving. I'm allowed to be here with this dog. And I took a stand. The cops were called. It was a bad scene. They said I could stay, but they refused to serve me. So now what this did is my dog became my anxiety. Everywhere I went, I was like, is she going to say something? Is he going to say something? So I had a pretty bad regression. I had a relapse, probably worse than my first occurrence of PTSD. So what did I do? I asked for help again. This time they put me in a hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah. And there I found writing. Because some of our challenges daily, we had to write down our stories. And then we had to share them with the group each day. So everybody would write down their stories and they would come in. And a lot of them would share the same story, but different facets of that story. I would come in with a different story each day from all the things that I'd seen, hundreds and hundreds of deaths. But I didn't feel worthy of their sympathy or their empathy because I wasn't, a combat warrior. I deployed a lot, but I never went outside the wire, so I didn't feel worthy of sharing my stories. But what I realized, and through my brothers and sisters in that room, they told me they wouldn't trade places with me in a million years, and that my stories helped them. that when they heard the things that I had seen, it helped them say, you know what, if he can do it, so can I. As I was leaving that hospital, my therapist stopped me and she said, you should share your story with the world. So from the moment I got home, I started writing. I sat down and hand wrote what I thought to be my book in 30 days. I was up till 3, 4 in the morning handwriting this, and I just really poured it out on the paper. In 2012, a publisher picked up my work, and it was published, and Then I Cried, Stories of a Mortuary NCO. It's a very proud moment. It's gone on to do very well. This year, Walmart picked it up. It's in Barnes & Noble. It's an amazing, amazing thing for me. I look back, but more so than that, it's the messages I get every day. I read your book, and I put down the gun. I read your book. It saved my life. I read your book. Me too. So, with that, when I was going through my treatment, I wrote the book, I decided pretty early on that PTSD was not going to beat me. PTSD was not going to be the thing that took my life. So in that moment, I decided that every morning I would get up and I would look in the mirror and I would say, today I win. This will not beat me. I live now I've learned to walk next to PTSD. I don't think you can ever get over PTSD, but I've learned to walk next to it through tools. I use what I call gross positivity. Gross positivity, simply stated, is be positive even when it feels gross. And that will help you out. Fake it till you make it, right? Because if you share your positivity, someone else will be positive and you get that energy back. So, I was thinking on the way over here, where did I learn these lessons? Where did I learn this never quit, it will not beat me? I learned it right here, Henderson, Kentucky. I learned it from people like my mother and father who taught me every day when they worked in this community so tirelessly, to be in service to others. I learned it from people like Matt Grace, who challenged me to be creative, who challenged me to think outside the box. I learned it from people like Lois Harper, who taught me that great was the enemy of excellent. I learned all these lessons right here in this very town. But more so, I can remember one lesson that stayed with me to this day. It was right here in this gym. And ironically, it was on this basket that I scored for the wrong team. And it's still hanging over my head to this day. And so, if anyone knows Jim Stocking, he really liked this track up top here. And I was on one of my, what seemed like 500th lap after that basket. And I wanted to give up on myself. And I wanted to quit. And Mr. Stocking blew his whistle and he looked up like only he could and he said, don't quit on yourself. Give me 10 more. Don't quit on yourself. Give me 10 more. And that's what I did. I gave him 10 more. And I hear that every morning when I get up. So one thing I like to do with my talks is I like to give you or challenge the audience. Where's my South Middle School students? Raise your hand. So I'm going to challenge you. You didn't know this, but I cleared it with your principal. There's homework for this speech. So what I'm going to challenge you to do, each one of you students, is I'm going to challenge you because it's Veterans Day. I want you to go to my Facebook page, and Then I Cried, Stories of a Mortuary NCO, and I want you to submit an essay. It's a 2-part essay. The first thing is the history of Veterans Day. More specifically, what is the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918? Why is that date special? Because I can tell you the history of Veterans Day. You'll learn a lot of it here, but I want you to learn it. The second thing that I want you to do, and the second part of this essay, is I want you to tell me about what challenges that you're facing. What challenges have your family faced, and how are you going to rise to meet them? Now, there's no limit of how long this or short this could be. I'd like you to post it on there. I'd like you to handwrite it. I'd like you to post it and tag your teacher on there. And I'll pick, and you have till January 1st to get it submitted, and then January 15th I will announce the winner. And what I'll do is I will throw the winner's class a pizza party. And then I will also give your teacher $100 to spend on whatever they want to have. Because I believe in the creativity of Henderson, Kentucky. So give me your best shot. In closing, what I'll say to each and every one of you, when you face challenges on a day-to-day basis, what are you doing about it? I'd like you to remember, hopefully, that I've shared with you that you remember just a couple of things. When life throws you hard times, remember, don't quit on yourself and give me 10 more. Thank you.
Thank you, choir. This is a perfect opportunity to feature the armed services songs from each military branch. Each of these armed services has a rich history and special meaning to those who served and their families. The United States Navy song is Anchors Aweigh, composed in 1906. The United States Army song is The Army Goes Rolling Along, composed in 1917 and revised in 1952. The United States Air Force song is The Wild Blue Yonder, composed in 1937. The United States Marine song is The Marine's Hymn, composed in 1859. The United States Coast Guard song is Semper Paratus, composed in 1922 and meaning always ready. As you hear these historical works performed today, think of their history and tradition. At this time, the South Middle School Band, under the direction of Ben Carroll, will play our service songs. As each one is being played, if you are a member or you have a family member that has served in that branch of service, please stand and be recognized on this Veterans Day. The United States Marines. The United States Army. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Air Force. The United States Navy. Every day here at South, when you go to class, there's a roll call. If you are there, you answer present or here. If you're not, there is silence. What we will have now is a roll call of some of our veterans. If you are here, please answer here. If not, they're missing, and we will sound a bell in their honor.
Sergeant Major Victor Rosentrader. Colonel James L. Smith. Jermaine Pointer. Sidney Nally. Sidney Nally. Paul U. Buckman. Justin Jordan. Jim O'Leary. Damon Allen Christian. Damon Allen Christian. Rick Turner. Charles Malcolm Alexander. Charles Malcolm Alexander. Tony Consler. Mark A. Martin. Bill Vaughn. Bill Vaughn. Johnny D. Hurst. John L. Volkovich. Stephen Slaughter. Thomas Lockhart Canary. Thomas Lockhart Canary. Rustin Bargo. Gary Lee Gage. Carl Cooper Dimpenwolf. Carl Cooper Dimpenwolf. Tyree Hampton. James Stephen Robards. James Stephen Robards. Prentice L. Williams. Norris King. Charles Lee Sayre. Charles Lee Sayre. Warren Lewis. Larry Dale Allen. Obie Todd Sr. Obie Todd Sr. Francis Shelby Pittman. Francis Shelby Pittman. William B. Wilson. Raymond K. Abbott. Doris Jean Nally. Doris Jean Nally. Thomas Benthal. Barry J. Russell. Johnny Alec. Richard Onan. Richard Onan. Omer Cobb. Omer Cobb. Mark Gobin. Donald E. Banks, Sr. Ernest Williams Stillwell. Ernest William Stillwell. Briscoe Edwards. Donald A. Tomlin. Donald A. Tomlin.
Thank you. You may be seated. This program, it takes a lot to put on, and you have to have dedicated people. And I would like, before we do our final recognition, I would like to thank the folks that were here much of the weekend putting all of this up. And I want, as I say your name, please come to the front of the stage so we can show appreciation. The adults that were here and put this on, come forward. Chris Newman, David Yates, Kirby Mosier, Marcy Heron, Dee Douglas, Jeff Goldsberry, Stan Diekman, Larry Markham, Charlie Crabtree, Sandra Neal, Julie Wynn, and our director. We could not do it without her, Miss Vicki Druin. If you guys could come forward. This is something very special. The following students that I'm going to tell you about, 7 of them have done this weekend, all weekend long thing, left last night at 10 o'clock, all 7 years. They're now in college. One goes to the University of Evansville, one goes to Kentucky, and so on. They came back because this program meant so much to them. So I want those students to come forward. Cynthia Morales, Katie Simpson, Davia Wilson, Riley Means, Krista Parker, Melanie Parker, Pooja Patel, and Courtney Wells. Come forward, please. Thank you, ladies. You did it. We could not, at this point, we can't do it without them. That's how valuable they are. We're going to close it with this next award. So after this award will be finished, and just to give you a heads up, at this time, before I say that, anyone who won a trophy for the essay, after the program, when your class goes back, we would like for you to stay. We would like for you to stay because we're going to take a picture. At this time, I would like for the Daughters of the American Revolution, their leader, Sarah Taylor, to come forward. And she's gonna tell you what she has to say here in just a second. Every year we honor someone who plays an instrumental part in our Veterans Day program. This year we would like to highlight Mr. Larry Markham. Come on up, Mr. Markham. Come on up. All right. So I've got a lot to say about him. I just wanted him up here so you guys could look at him as I talk about him. For years, Mr. Markham has put together a fantastic display in our lobby. The display pays tribute to his father. Larry's father, Thomas L. Markham, died in the service of his country on January 9th. 1945. And he's going to make me cry just standing here next to him. Now I'm going to get through it. He was only 25 years old. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for meritorious achievement in ground combat against the armed enemy during World War II. Private Thomas Markham was killed in Belgium while fighting heroically in the Battle of the Bulge. Larry was a baby, yet he still remembers the day that officers came by to the house to give his mother the news that his father had been killed. His dad's service and sacrifice fueled Larry's desire to enter the armed forces. Larry has extreme pride in his service to the military. He joined the Army at age 19. He went on to become an Army medic at a very young age. Students, I want you to hear this. Larry always went above and beyond what was expected of him, thus earning many awards. He was awarded the Certificate of Distinction for, I quote, outstanding attention to devotion to duty, initiative, tireless effort, conscientious application, and spontaneous assumption of responsibilities beyond the scope of his duty assignment. He has had a successful career after retiring from the Army. Larry was the Henderson County Sheriff from 1982 to 1986. Currently, he is a successful business owner. Markham Security Specialist has been a thriving business for now 42 years. Today, we are honored to recognize this very humble man for his service to his country and being such a great friend to our Veterans Day program. And at this time, before we give it up for Mr. Markham, Sarah Taylor of the Daughters of the American Revolution, she would like to say a few words and then pin Larry with his pen.
We're celebrating the 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War. And Larry, from a grateful nation, I want to thank you for your service, and most importantly, welcome home.
And I said it was the last thing, but we want to one more time show our appreciation, and we have a gift for our guest speaker, Mr. Justin Jordan. Once again, the students with the trophies, please come down. Veterans, thank you for your service, and you are dismissed.